House. This is David L. Cleveland, and he has written a fabulous book, Stop the Monkey Business. David, what this book is so fascinating because it's for managers and leadership, and you have a very unique way of expressing yourself as far as when you say stop the monkey business, you mean exactly that. Let's talk about these 8 WTFs.
Yeah, I'm kind of passionate about it, and what you picked up on, I kind of wrote it like I talk. I actually had a former client who texted me after she'd seen the book, and she said, "Oh my God, I hear your voice in my mind." And I said, "Oh, well, hold on." I said, "The audiobook's about to come out, and you can get it and listen on your radio, and not have to hear your voice, my voice in your mind." So, yeah, this is nothing more than what I've done as a manager over the years, and then probably really honed into some thoughts as I've been a consultant over the last 7 or 8 years with business leaders and owners. That's my client base, and some nonprofit CEOs. But I've worked with them to help them do strategy, to help them do team building, and out of that, seems like the same problems keep cropping up, and that's what started to become the 8 WTFs. In fact, one in my office here, you could, if you looked out on my whiteboard, you'd see at the top, execution needs strategy for breakfast, and it's so
Right.
true. And I've got clients that they'll spend all this time and have a nice meeting for a day and do strategies 3 4 years out, and then you know what? They won't
Nothing gets
go after
done.
the details. They
Yeah,
won't make them smart, and then we'll get together and do it again a year later, and it's such a waste.
it is. It is a true waste. So, in your book, you talk about how leadership is about vision, and it's about creating a climate where the truth is heard. And what you just said is so poignant because it's so true that sometimes people you get together in groups and you spend hours and hours and hours, and then what do you accomplish after the fact of
Mhm.
it is. But just reading the comments of people that you have worked with. I had one email come in with a review yesterday, and she said that you could have some lively conversations. You could get even a little bit mad at each other, but by the time everybody walked out of the room, they knew exactly what they were going to do, and everybody was on the same page.
Yeah, I think that I had to figure out why did people like working for me, and I talk about that. And I had a very, I think, successful early career. At a very young age, I was made a director of personnel, and then at another very young age, a president of a business. Why did they gravitate to me? And I think part of it was I was very open with them. I use the word vulnerable. I'd share with them. I share too much. I probably they put TMI by me sometimes, too much information. But I tell people what I'm thinking, where it's going, and I'm direct with them. And a lot of managers at Hilti at that time really appreciated it to a point. They would let it be known I'd like to go to work in Hilti Latin America, even though they were maybe in another country or in another part of the world. So yeah, I learned that really works, and I don't know if I even understood it at the time, but that builds trust, and trust actually builds team. You know,
It
it's
abs-
I didn't write that. Lencioni did. Trust builds team, but it starts with that, and I think I had a capacity to be vulnerable with my managers and employees, and that was a little unusual.
well, I think that when you just remain human,
Hmm.
because I'm sure you've made your share of mistakes along the way too.
Hmm.
That's part of the process. That's how we learn, and that's what helped you to become the leader that you are today. Is because you were able to own up to your mistakes as well as you went through this journey to figure what works and what does not work.
Yeah, when I'd share with if when we made a mistake or whatever, yeah, I'd come in and talk about it, but I didn't come out and blame them. I'd go, "Hey, I missed this one. I screwed up. So did you, by the way, because nobody shared with me this problem." But I always understood I owned it. They needed to own it too, and it wasn't
Mhm.
that I was easy on that part, but they liked the fact I owned it with them, and
Well,
I think that's a big part of leadership.
and that's why people decided to follow you and like you. You
Mhm.
talk about in number 5, the poor organization can cost you lots of money. Let's talk about that and how that works and what it can do for an organization if they are organized, or a business, if they are organized and they keep all of their employees and people that are working for them on the same page.
Yeah, a lot of times, and I learned a lot of that in my former HR background, but when I don't set the organization right, it starts with clarifying people's jobs, clarifying who they report to. It creates chaos. I say in this, you're like you're running a Kool-Aid stand. No, this is an important business. We need to know people's jobs. We need to know what they're responsible for. And I go on and say, if you want to give bonuses and hold people accountable, it starts with setting clear accountability so they feel like they could actually move the needle and get rewarded with a bonus. And so learn that early on. And a lot of companies don't, they kind of do it by they draw some things on the board and they make boxes. No, it's really a business of understanding it, setting it up clearly, understanding having two people manage one person never works, never has, never will. You have to do it. I understand that, but then you have to acknowledge it and manage it because it's easier when I can report to one person rather than two. And it's span of control. And I share in there. One point in my Hilti Latin America business, I had 8 presidents of businesses reporting to me in 7 different countries, and another 7 reporting to me in my headquarters in Tulsa. I had a span of control problem. I couldn't keep up. They literally kind of pat me on my head, give me a plane ticket and a speech in Spanish, and off I'd fly. And it's a great lesson to me. You have to get span of control right. Otherwise, you take your best people, ask them to do more than they can do, and then wonder why we don't perform.
Hmm, absolutely. And then they get discouraged and
Absolutely.
like they're going to go the other direction. They're going to go live somewhere else where they feel like they're going to accomplish more. I
Right.
think people in general want to feel like they're doing really contributing and making a difference. And if they don't feel that, then it turns into something that, where people, a lot of dissatisfaction.
Yeah, and the big one on this too is a lot of my clients are business owners, and they have people who report to them. They violate though that idea of you can't work for 2 people because they'll march into the plant, right? See something, go, wow, what are you doing here? They'll give directions, and there's a boss. Maybe the boss is 2 levels above that person they're talking to, and they're not consulting with them. It does nothing but create chaos. Plus, it kind of hurts the feelings and doesn't make your employees so loyal to you when they know you don't honor and respect them and their ability to manage their business. So it's an
Absolutely.
organization. It's hard work. It's not as exciting as customer service and things like that, but you have to do it. It's hard work, and if you do it, it'll make you more effective.
Beautiful. What about leadership styles? You say in chapter 8, all leadership styles are right sometimes.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have kind of looked for the holy grail there, and it came from management classes back in the 70s when I attended, and I remember a lot of discussion then was that there was theory X style, which was authoritative, and then theory Y, participative, and a lot of discussion. The theory Y must be the right way. Maybe the problem is it's not true all the time, and the research by Hersey and Blanchard of the 4 leadership styles that exist, and that a good manager can operate in any of the 4 when it's required by the situation or the employee. It showed it, and I started to see it too. And I could give you an assessment test right now that they have for that, and we'd say, oh, uh, Becky's good at the coaching style, and she's very good at the participative style. But then we go, and so the telling people what to do, she kind of struggles with sometimes because she struggles being direct. What does that mean? Sometimes that style is required. Sometimes we need to tell people what to do. And
Right,
so then
absolutely.
the employer, the manager, needs to start to adapt. And once you learn to operate in all 4 styles, oh, wow, you can start to become a very effective manager. So I learned that one early on. I taught situational leadership when I was an HR executive for Hilti. Guess what? Hilti's still teaching situational leadership in some different forms, but the same thing. Oh my God, that's almost 40 years ago. And it's
You're
like,
dating yourself.
yeah, I'm pretty old.
Uh, and so, when you're bringing this book to the world, and there'll be a lot of opportunities in the way that you serve today that people will pick up the copy of this book. It's not a difficult read. It's not a long read. but
Right.
it's packed full of valuable information. What is the biggest number one takeaway you want them to walk away with?
I think number one is I think most people kind of know these things or they've heard them before. I didn't invent them. I gave lots of credits in the bibliography. I didn't invent them, but it's starting to recognize this stuff really works. I mean, it's kind of like, you kidding me? You don't do job descriptions? You don't want to? Well, how come anybody know what to do? And again, I've done lots of coaching. I have people call up and they say, hey, I'm having troubles with my employee. Can you coach us? 90% of the time I go in. And the problem is unclear expectations because we didn't really define what the job was or what a good job was. And they'll all go, they say, oh, I've talked. And I'll go, is it in writing? Oh, no, I don't like to put it in writing. I'm like, get over yourself. This is not hard. Do it. It'll be so much easier than to say, hey, we talked this. Here it is. Why are you not doing this? So it's those simple things. And when I'm able to get through to some of my younger managers and older managers and they do it, it's pretty easy solutions. It's just hard to do,
Well, I
but it's
know
pretty
with the people that I have working alongside me, it's once we decided to write everything out, what is expected and kind of the standard operating procedures, and I've been developing that actually in a way to work with my authors. And in about a month after I get through with my back-to-back book launches, I'll be able to put that into place. Each one of the different phases of getting ready for publishing will be much more clear and direct, where you understand exactly the steps. And I've been learning that, even though I haven't. I've been publishing for a number of years and worked with a number of authors, that the more clear and the more step by step that I am, the better off they are. There's not the questions, you know.
absolutely. And when two people talk, we've just talked here today. And if you came back and somebody asked me what was said, and then we ask you what was said, we both would have a slightly different interpretation.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
okay in this discussion. That's not okay in an employee and boss relationship. We need to be very clear. And that's with your authors, these are customers. We have to define exactly what we're doing. It's very hard to do it just through dialogue. That's why some of them won't write them. So I've told them, Becky, I said, okay, ask the employee to do a follow up email confirming what they understood from your meeting. Oh, they get those. They'll go, that's not what I said.
Well, and
So,
the clarity, because what I find is, even though if we have the conversations, it's they're busy just like I'm busy and everything else, and what stays in the head is totally a different thing.
right.
And so that's what I'm actually in the process of, really spelling out much clearer, so that everybody, I think, what little I've been starting to implement with my newest authors, um, it's kind of fun because it also saves me a lot of time. you know,
There you hit on it though. It's hard work.
it is.
And not that we don't like hard work, but I'd much rather talk to a new author. I'd much rather do a social media post. But doing that stuff, it's kind of drudgery. It's kind of
It's
like
a lot of work.
strategy. Everybody likes to talk strategy. Oh, new products. Let's talk new products. No, let's talk about setting smart objectives in detail, step by step of what we're going to do. And everybody starts to kind of, and I have to, I
You're
have to
like,
push it because it's hard
nah,
work, but I know
right.
that's more critical sometimes than anything you do. That's why I say execution, eat strategy for breakfast.
Well, I've learned a lot from you, being able to read your content, and it's helped me even kind of start forming a lot of different procedures, so that not only are we meeting milestones as we move along, but I'm trying to make sure that my authors, the ones I work with, they're much more clear on exactly the
Mhm.
the processes, so that they're not disappointed at the end.
Yeah.
Because there's so many moving parts to getting a book ready for publishing.
Yeah, no, I think it applies very well. And yeah, and so you kind of, what motivated me to do this? I don't know. I guess you could say it was like an expensive vanity license plate. I hope not. Yeah, there's some ego involved, but I do think that I've used this in my business. It works with my clients, and I wanted to share it. And not that I'm ready to do a second book, but I can tell you I've got 6 other WTFs that are not in the book that that I started thinking they need to maybe be out there. And
Yes.
so many of them. I mean, the customer one is the other one. It's so simple, but everybody says they're customer oriented. And then when I ask them what it means, they don't get it. And I use the phrase, you can't be customer oriented only on certain days it fits you. You also have to be customer oriented on the weekend coming before Christmas when your customer needs to be served. Either
Mhm.
you either are or you aren't. And if you're not, quit telling people you are.
Right.
And that's so critical today. You know that. It's so easy for people to find new suppliers of whatever they buy
Oh,
that
look at
you
the
either
internet. Yeah.
service the customer or not. And the cost of losing customers, if you look at the data on that, it's scary.
Well, and when even working with some of the local big publishers, publishing houses, as I publish, I think that some of them need to open these up, this book up and take a read, because the customer service is horrible, and maybe they feel like they can because maybe they feel like they have a corner on the market. But oh my goodness, if they would just keep their clients happy by
Right.
by ex, by answering the phone for one thing,
There you go. Well, you and I talked about some of the go unnamed, but certain large organizations we all do business with today, and their customer service is bad. And they spend all this money to try to maybe get it shipped on time or do this, but they won't answer a phone. They won't answer an email. They won't deal with an unhappy customer. And I don't know what they think they're serving there, but I know it's hurting them. And guess
Well, it
what?
has to be.
You
Yeah.
guys that are number 2 and 3 in those industries, retail selling and things like that, online, I don't know who they might be. There's open opportunity here because not everybody's happy with the number 1.
So true. So true, because we all like to be treated like we're something,
Yeah,
and that we
else.
that we really matter. And
Yeah.
most of us in these larger companies, there's a lot of us that buy from them.
Mhm.
And um, if you get treated badly enough, we're going to look somewhere else because it's not the way we want to be treated. And if
And
we
there's good
think about it that
opportunity for others there. So it's you should do it, I hope, because you believe it. But if
way,
you
right?
don't, you should do it because you'll make more money. Here, I'll give you a
Absolutely,
good one. You'll make more money by treating customers right and losing less customers because the cost of losing a customer is extreme.
it is. Yep, very much. Well, congratulations to you. This is
Thank
a
you.
pretty awesome, fascinating book. I always say a book is a tool for business growth. You know, um,
Mhm.
it sets you apart as quite the expert, and I have really, really enjoyed working with you on this. And I know that it will take this video and we'll put it out for many more to hear. But if you and at some point, it looks like we haven't had any live listeners. We typically have quite a few.
Mhm.
Um, but if you pick up this book and read it, take to heart what David has talked about. And there's a way to be in touch with him if you have questions on how, maybe something that he's written. David, congratulations.
Okay,
Um,
thank you, and thank you, Becky and Spotlight Publishing, and put a board for them. If you're thinking of doing this and you're thinking you might just do a self-publishing type of route in this, think twice. It's a little more complicated than you might think, and what's maybe on the advertising. And Becky and her team have done a good job to steer me through this, and we've got her published. We're going to see what we can do. And those that have questions, hey, you can find my email address is on there. You can go to my website at corporateperformancegroup.com and find me there. Be happy to visit with you.
awesome. Very good. Enjoyed our
Okay.
interview today, and lots of success to you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.